What do you say? Right? What do you say after a night like that? A night with absolutely the most conflicting emotions you could ever have in a single 3-hour span as a sports fan. A night that leaves me, frankly, totally and completely baffled as to how I am supposed to react to that game. There is a part of me that I will start with that wants to make a quip about Josh Hart being the most aptly named player in the history of the league, because there is absolutely no one. Maybe, back in the day, you had guys like this. Now, there aren't guys that go out there and do what Josh Hart does night after thankless night. And he had a game tonight that I don't think anyone who watched this game will ever forget. And I part of me wants to stay on that. Part of me wants to expand on this team, which years in the making now, going back to the We Are Here season, and obviously last year, and it's comparatively, it's felt easy at times this year, but every time you felt like they needed to, they were absolutely had their backs against the wall with no hope in sight. They somehow reach down and they find these reserves of energy, of poise, and most of all, of shot making. Like, I lost track of how many massive baskets there were. And it's not even just the last 5 minutes of the game, not even just the fourth quarter, the entire second half, as Cleveland, after the Knicks had a double-digit lead for felt like a fairly long stretch of that first half, for Cleveland to come back and take the lead. I mean, you want to talk about how many gut punches can you take in one night? We'll get to Brunson in a moment, but that happens in the first minute, and then you play your hearts out, pun intended. And yet Cleveland comes back and they get to go into halftime with the lead. For the Knicks to not come out of the gate in the third quarter and just absolutely lay down and die, which they would have had every excuse to do, says so much about the culture that they've built. And that is a word that we have tossed around here, both as envious fans and as fans who want to believe for years and years now. That this shit right here proves to you that culture is not a buzzword. Culture is real. Culture is ingrained, and culture is cultivated. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't even happen over the course of one season. And it happens through the personalities in your building. Personalities like Josh Hart. Personalities like Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride, I'm out of the rotation. Totally fine. You need me to come in for a 30-second end of quarter spot to just play some gritty defense on someone? Fine. You need me to play 47 minutes and 13 seconds in a basketball game? Fine. And that's your, whatever he is, your 10th, 11th man. It's throughout the coaching staff, throughout the front office. That's culture. And there's a part of me that just wants to stick to that. And there's a part of me that wants to say, you know what? The Knicks might have saved their season tonight. Had they lost this game with Philadelphia's win earlier in the evening, they obviously would have fallen from fourth. The Pacers I don't know if the loss is actually official yet, but they're about to lose, or they just lost to San Antonio. But like, this thing was very much starting to slip away. And for them to get that win, I don't need to say this to anybody watching, but for anybody who maybe needs to hear this, save me the Donovan Mitchell and Karis LeVert were out tonight. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Save their season, potentially. Because, again, you start to... At some point, not that this team would ever stop trying, but at some point, putting forth maximum effort after maximum effort after maximum effort and not getting the result, not getting the win, it has to take a toll on you. So just for their emotional and mental well-being to get this win after the effort they put forth tonight, I think was absolutely massive, to say nothing about what it meant in the standings. I want to focus on nothing but all of that. And yet it feels in some ways wrong to focus on any of it, because with all due respect to Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau and Julius Randle and I mean anyone else and all of our draft picks, this organization comes down to one man. And I threw on his jersey in an act of, an act of solidarity before this post game, because I had to, because he's that important. I mean, I've had the question asked of me, and the topic has been brought up by a few people. I didn't think of this, but it's been raised by others, and I've since thought about it. Like, is he going to go? Jalen Brunson going to go down as one of the 5 most important free agent signings in the history of the league? The fact that I could ask that question and not be laughed off of my show, this show. I know we have a fairly biased audience here, but I think you could ask that of a general NBA fan. Like, by the time all is said and done with Jalen Brunson, could he go down as one of the 5 most important free agent signings in NBA history? I think a lot of people in the NBA watching what's going on with this team and with this player would have to at least stop and pause and be like, shit, maybe. That's how much he means. He means everything. Like, I'm not going to say there is no organization without him, because that would disrespect and belittle the locker room full of guys that they have that just went out there and won a game that they were not supposed to win. With Sam Merrill looking like Larry freaking Bird out there. I mean, come on. Isaac Okoro picks tonight to hit all of his above the break threes for the season. Seriously, like, so it belittles them to make that point. And at the same time, all of the excitement that we have been feeling, really going back to last season. And if you want to, go, we just got an update. Steph Bondi, Tom Thibodeau says Jalen Brunson has a knee contusion. X-rays are negative. So I need to process that for a second, because as you all know, I'm not a doctor, nor would I ever pretend to know the ins and outs of this stuff. But I think I have a conclusion or two potentially to draw. So I'm not going to put down the rest of the team and say like there is no organization without Brunson. But in terms of all the excitement we've been feeling, especially from January 1st on, that was all about Jalen Brunson, because Jalen Brunson could bring us where we believe Jalen Brunson could bring us to the promised land. Whether or not they would go out and get someone else, he's the guy. He's the guy. And when he went down in the first quarter, and I'm going to be careful to choose my words here, because let me take a step back before I say anything else. So this tweet, knee contusion, I'm not going to draw any conclusions from that. I don't think X-rays negative mean anything, because X-rays aren't going to show like a tear or something. But knee contusion, with Tibbs saying it, I'm not sure if I'm drawing anything from that. What I am going to perhaps draw some conclusions, and this could look ridiculous in the light of day tomorrow, or by the time people are actually listening to this, is that I took a lot of solace from some people on Twitter who seem to know what they're talking about. A couple of different doctors I saw draw the same conclusion. I retweeted one of them. I'll go and try to look for him right now. He already put out a video on this. I'll find it momentarily. But Dr. Brian Sutterer. But he was not the only one who had this opinion. Apparently, this is the way it looked, and I implore everybody to watch the video that I tweeted out during the game. He went into this thing for like 5 minutes. I watched the whole thing. I'll just say it was very convincing. Apparently, this may be some type of a nerve thing where we're talking like days to a week. So I'm going to, again, I want to be careful about how I talk about this because we don't know. We don't know. And the not knowing is obviously excruciating, and it makes doing what I'm attempting to do right now very difficult. I'm just going to say right now, I am choosing to be hopeful. I am choosing to be optimistic. I am choosing to believe that the worst has not happened. And what is the worst? I'll say it. And I kind of said it. And thanks everybody for bearing with me on what was a little bit of a kooky halftime Zoom. I said it then, like the season was over for me when he went down. And when I realized it was a non-contact injury, although again, it wasn't quite a non-contact injury. Go watch that video I'm talking about. I was like, immediately my mind went to next season. Please let him be okay for next season. That's the only thing I was thinking. Within 60 seconds of him going down, because ACL, Achilles, I'm thinking all these sorts of things where it's like, and it takes time to get back to yourself and all this sorts of, and so it's like your mind's racing and you're like, oh my God, we've worked to this point and it's all going to just go down the shitter, because now it doesn't matter, how soon Julius Randle gets back or how soon OG Anunoby gets back or Mitchell Robinson gets back, and like, honestly, my mind went to the darkest of places, which is like, if was seriously hurt, well, all the draft picks in the world aren't going to make a damn of difference in terms of like trying to trade for that sort of star, because what, like the co-star that we keep, talking about, who's going to want to come play with a guy who might not even be playing next year? And like, there's that injury question mark. So I'm literally seeing years worth of groundwork as an organization go up in smoke. This is what's going through my mind in those early moments of the first quarter. And at the same time, I also felt awful for having all of those thoughts. One, because we didn't and don't know the diagnosis, and it could not be nearly that bad. And more importantly, I felt terrible thinking about the team, certainly myself and my reaction as a fan, because all any of us should be thinking about at this moment is Jalen Brunson. If you're a Knicks fan, if you're a basketball fan, if you're, someone who just likes sports, forget that. If you hate sports and you just like good things happening to people who work for it, which is like what's supposed to happen in the world. Where if you work and you work and you work and you don't listen to people who tell you can't do something, you could like give a shit less about the NBA or sports at large, and you have to love and admire Jalen Brunson, because forget everything you could want as a fan of a team. He's everything you could want if like you're raising a daughter and you're looking, you're hoping someone that they marry someday. Like, he is the epitome of everything that we should all espouse to be. And I maybe seem like I'm going a little too far. I don't. Based on everything you read and hear from this guy and about this guy. And for him to get to this point where he's on the doorstep of all NBA, which is like, a lot of freaking great players in History League that did not get all NBA. And I'm thinking, God, man, if he misses the rest of the season, well, obviously he can't get all NBA. And forget about like the rest of his career and what that looks like. And that's really then what I started to focus on. And I just felt absolutely wretched for him, and I frankly, like, his family and just everybody who's associated with him, because no one works harder. And like, yeah, I mean, whatever the injury is, if whether it's a 1 week injury or something far worse, all of us are going to bet on Jalen Brunson getting back to full form and be coming back even better than before he went down. But man, like that's why it's like I can't even I'm not sitting here feeling sorry for myself. All I could, or Knick fans even, I'm just all I'm thinking about is Jalen Brunson, and I just hope he's okay. I just hope he's okay. And I hope for his sake that this is just a blip. And that's it. And that's all it is. I don't have anything else to say. I mean, the game was incredible. We'll talk all about the performances throughout the evening. I mean, there's a whole bunch of guys that deserve soliloquies, in their honor, because you don't win this game with one guy or two guys or three guys playing well. Like this is a team. This is as much of a team win as they've had in probably the Thibodeau era, if we're being honest. Because like up and down, Hartenstein. I mean, like how many defensive plays did he make down the stretch? Precious Achiuwa was on point all game long, and this maybe wasn't the matchup for him because. And I think this was maybe Tibbs' concession finally. Like, man, we got to put some points on the board. Precious Achiuwa only played 22 minutes. The flip side of that was Bogdanović played 30. Bogdanović, not a perfect game, but man, they don't win this game without him. And his shot making went on a few runs in this game. Second quarter, they needed all of his buckets in the second half. Big game from him. Thought it was another good game from Sims. The Alec Burks experience continues, and then it comes down to your three stars tonight. McBride, I talked about already. Dante DiVincenzo, man, Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, like, is he going to get my 1-star performance? Is he going to finish in third place somehow in the stars of the game after scoring 28 points, 6 of 14 from 3, 11 of 22 from the field, 6 rebounds, 4 assists? Dude played 39 minutes. Like, he is their number one offensive option right now. And he was their number one offensive option for this game. And he came through. Just freaking gutty. Absolute. I can't say it enough. This team is special. If you're a Knicks fan, it's okay to be in your feelings right now. It's okay to be worried, nervous, all those things. But I just saw Andrew tweeted it out. Be proud. Be proud of your basketball team. Be proud of the people that put on this jersey that has New York plastered across the front. Because, man, got a lot of teams, a lot of players on those teams that wore this jersey that did not represent any of the values that New Yorkers stand for. This team is all New York. They're all New York.